So, um, have you ever considered the oldest, most ambitious goal in human history?
Oh, that's a big
I'm
question.
not talking about space travel or anything like that. I'm talking about uh, literally turning something ordinary, like lead,
Mhm.
into gold.
Ancient dream.
Exactly, the ancient dream of alchemy. The Greeks called it chrysopoeia.
Right.
And for centuries, this was just dismissed,
Yeah.
pure fantasy.
Of course.
But here's the paradox, the really mind-bending thing we're diving into today. Transmutation, actually changing the identity of an atom, is real.
It's completely real.
And we have sources that prove it's possible. But they operate on, well, totally different planes.
Wildly different. One is the absolute pinnacle of modern particle physics, a recent measurement from CERN.
Yeah, the other.
The other is from the deepest realm of the human psyche, looked at through the lens of depth psychology.
So we're really examining this incredible duality.
That's it. On one hand, you've got the intensely objective data from the ALICE collaboration.
At the Large Hadron Collider.
Yeah, detailing the physical, momentary transformation of lead nuclei into gold.
And then on the other hand,
You have C.G. Jung's analysis of alchemical symbolism, arguing the real quest was always about finding the ultimate substance, the gold within yourself.
so our mission for this deep dive is to hold up these two processes
The scientific reality versus the symbolic quest.
and ask what both the modern scientist and the ancient philosopher really define as the ultimate gold. And I mean, why go to such exhausting extremes to find it?
Okay, let's unpack this. So when we look at the raw materials, the physical stuff, you can immediately see why the early alchemists would start with lead.
It makes a certain intuitive sense.
It's dull, it's heavy, but its density. It seemed tantalizingly close to gold. It felt possible.
But they found out pretty quickly that, just heating it up or mixing it with chemicals,
Was totally powerless to change it.
utterly. And that realization was, I think, the first huge turning point for them.
How so?
They understood this wasn't a problem for a chemist anymore. It was a problem for a philosopher.
Mm.
So if the external effort fails,
The internal effort has to succeed. That's when the whole goal just shifts from material wealth to, well, spiritual completion.
and they had a phrase for that, right?
They did, a guiding philosophy. Aurum nostrum non est aurum vogi. Our gold is not the common gold.
I love that. So to start this huge inner journey, you need a starting point, a substance,
Right, the prima materia.
the first matter.
Right.
But it wasn't just a lump of lead in a flask, was it? Psychologically, what was this prima materia?
It was everything that was difficult, everything unacknowledged and raw.
That stuff you don't want to look at.
Exactly, the material that needed to be worked on internally. Think of it as just psychic chaos. It was the uncreated, the thing that defied any easy definition.
Which is why I had so many names.
1,000 names.
Yeah.
In their text, it was the dragon, the quicksilver, the salt, the shadow. It was the worst, messiest, most toxic part of the human condition that they had to confront first.
That deep fear, the unacknowledged potential, the internal mess.
That's it.
That makes perfect sense. You can't build a golden integrated self without first dealing with that heavy, chaotic, raw material.
And the work itself, the transformation process.
It must have been grueling.
It was a long, arduous path. They called it the Longissima Via, and it was broken down into a series of psychological steps, symbolized by colors.
The tetrameria.
Yes. You start with the nigredo, the blackening, total confusion, depression, the confrontation with the shadow.
Sounds like a complete dissolution of the old self.
Precisely. Then came the albedo, the purification, the whitening, that first glimmer of insight,
A bit of hope.
a bit of hope. Followed by the yellowing, xanthosis, and finally the deep red iosis. The end point of this entire journey
The ultimate goal.
was the lapis philosophorum, the philosopher's stone.
And we know this wasn't just physical work over a furnace. This was intense mental effort.
Devotion, really.
Yeah.
They had an adage that really speaks to this. Ars totum requiret hominum,
The art requires the whole man.
the whole man. And that's key. They believed the inner moral state of the operator was linked to the external success of the experiment.
So if you were spiritually flawed,
The goal just wouldn't form. That dedication required a massive, lifelong investment of your entire self.
okay, so if the alchemists needed a perfected soul for the work to succeed, what's the, let's say, cost for the modern physicist to get the same result?
That's a great question.
Let's pivot from the dusty crucible to the high-energy lab at CERN.
What's so fascinating here is that the physical transmutation isn't achieved through devotion, but through extreme relativistic velocity.
We're talking about the Alice detector.
Yes, where lead nuclei are accelerated to speeds just shy of the absolute maximum.
Something like 99.999993% of the speed of light.
Insane speeds.
And the whole point of these giant machines is usually to smash things head-on, right? To study the basic nature of matter.
Usually, yes. They want those head-on collisions to create quark-gluon plasma. But this specific gold transformation happens during a near-miss collision.
A near miss. Why does a near miss make gold, but a direct hit makes this, fundamental soup of matter?
It's all about electromagnetism. A single lead nucleus has 82 protons,
A huge positive charge.
which creates an incredibly strong electromagnetic field. So when you accelerate these nuclei to near light speed, that powerful field, which normally spreads out,
It gets compressed.
it gets physically squashed, compressed by the velocity.
Can you give us a way to visualize that?
Think of it like a sound wave from a vehicle moving fast toward you. The waves compress in front of it. Here, the electromagnetic field lines get squashed into a thin, highly intense pancake of energy,
A pancake of energy?
perpendicular to the direction of motion. And this pancake is really a short-lived pulse of high-energy photons.
So the energy pancake delivers the subatomic punch.
Exactly. That intense photon pulse hits a nearby nucleus and triggers something called electromagnetic dissociation.
It's not a chaotic smash then.
No, it's a clean surgical strike. The photon just knocks out specific particles.
And the goal in this case is to get from lead's 82 protons down to gold's 79.
Correct. For the alchemist's dream to be realized physically, that photon pulse has to knock out exactly 3 protons. And it does. It's an undeniable physical transmutation.
So physics did it. They achieved the golden dream.
But only just barely.
The Alice collaboration measured the LHC producing gold at a rate of about 89,000 nuclei per second. That sounds like a lot.
It sounds prolific, but it means the gold is completely unusable. This scientific gold exists for a minuscule fraction of a second.
So you can measure it, but you can't hold it.
Right. The moment it strikes the beam pipe or anything else, the nuclei just fragment back into lighter elements. They've achieved objective, measurable transmutation, but it's utterly fleeting. It has zero material value.
Wow. So the scientific gold is real, it's objective, you can count the nuclei, but its value is purely conceptual.
Precisely.
That sharp contrast with the alchemists' enduring philosophical gold really brings us back to the psychological side of things. The dream was achieved, but you couldn't even make a wedding ring.
Exactly. And the physical uselessness of the CERN gold, it just throws the value of the philosophical gold into such intense relief.
Right.
Jung proposed that the alchemists weren't just, bad scientists. They were unconsciously projecting their deep inner psychic material onto matter.
Their experiments were a mirror of their inner conflict.
A mirror. It's the ultimate case of projecting your internal struggle onto the external world.
And in doing that, this work preserved a vital bridge to nature, a bridge to the deep unconscious world, which later rationalistic systems tended to just ignore.
That's the key connection. The unconscious processes inside us, they naturally strive toward wholeness, toward integration. And that drive, it shows up in recurring symbolic forms.
You mean like in dreams?
In dreams, in visions, across all cultures. People frequently produce these geometric forms, circles, squares, wheels, that are identical to the symbolic drawings in alchemical texts.
Windows. Images of inner order and psychic integration.
They are. The central symbol they were unknowingly striving for was the self.
The totality of the psyche.
The whole integrated person, not just the conscious ego. And this totality is often depicted as the rotundum, the circle, or that really complex process of squaring the circle.
And the intense focus on process and struggle suggests the journey requires this, difficult collision of opposites. Why the obsession with joining things that shouldn't fit together?
Because the goal, the self, is not simple purity. It's the unfathomable union of good and evil, of light and darkness.
So the process has to reflect that.
It has to. The alchemical process requires the conjunctio, the necessary union of classic opposites like sulfur and mercury, or the male and female principles, as a precondition for true development.
You need that internal conflict to spark the transformation.
And the ultimate symbolic figure for this fluid unifying force is Mercurius.
Mercury seems to be the ultimate psychological shapeshifter.
He is the paradox personified. He's metallic, yet he's liquid. He's matter, yet he's spirit. He is poison, and yet he is the healing draft.
So what does he represent? psychologically.
He represents the flexible, synthesizing function of the mind, the thing that lets us connect our rational consciousness with the huge, chaotic unconscious. They called him Aqua Nostra, our water.
And this internal struggle.
This necessary collision of dualities is what they called the affliction of the soul. And it was absolutely essential for developing the whole man.
Which leads to a really critical point about the role of the intellect. In their texts, the purely analytical mind is often symbolized as a tricky figure, right?
A negative figure sometimes. The man with the pointed beard, or even Mephistopheles.
Suggesting what?
That the intellect must be relegated from being the supreme power to just an instrument. It's an essential guide, a mirror to reflect reality, but it must be employed by the whole self. It can't be the boss.
And that reflection comes as a stark warning.
A very stark warning. If man tries to fly too high or speculates only in the void, the mirror shatters. The psychological takeaway is that only gods can walk the rainbow bridge. Mortal men have to stick to the essential earthly work. So the whole purpose of gaining insight into these symbols is really to teach the art of seeing.
The art of seeing.
It's about making contact with the deep psyche, establishing a connection between, say, sacred figures or dogmas, and the powerful dormant images just lying there in your own unconscious.
So the insight has to be felt, lived.
Exactly.
So if we hold these two definitions of work side by side, we get two profoundly different ideas of the opus, the great work.
Completely different.
You have the traditional religious opus where man needs redemption and imitates a divine figure.
And then you have the alchemical opus, which is, well, it's radical.
How so?
Man is the redeemer. He is laboring to liberate the divine world soul that they believed was slumbering, trapped inside matter. The alchemist, the artifacts, takes on the burden of continuing the divine creative work.
Wow. And that's why his inner state, his virtues, his devotion had to be perfect.
Yes. His humility and patience were essential because his inner character literally dictated the external success of the experiment.
This was salvation through your own hard work.
An intensely personal and demanding path to wholeness. It requires an absolute level of moral engagement.
And to tie up this complex idea of integrating opposites, let's look at one final, really complex symbol, the unicorn.
Ah, yes.
We see it in Christian art, symbolizing purity, the unique redeemer. But in alchemical texts, it's often noted for its monstrous, powerful nature.
Because it represents that critical inner contradiction, a complexio oppositorum.
Complexity of opposites.
The unicorn is unique and pure, but also fuse and monstrous. This tension made it an ideal symbol for the monstrum hermaphroditum of alchemy, the union of opposites, the ultimate integrated being.
It contains all the paradoxes the alchemist had to resolve inside himself to find the stone.
All of them.
So we've seen two incredible attempts to realize the ultimate substance. CERN achieved an objective, fleeting reality.
Precisely engineered, but momentary.
And alchemy sought a psychic, enduring truth through profound inner work. The physics is external, temporary, and explosive.
And the psychological work is internal, necessary, and lifelong.
The truly profound takeaway here is that the alchemists, they ultimately concluded that the secret of the art was hidden in the mind, the mens.
Not in the salt, the sal.
And that the investigator has to accomplish the transformative process in his own self first.
Before anything else.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, just think about our modern world. We are constantly risking information overload, mental exhaustion.
A state the alchemists might have called a baissement du niveau mental.
The lowering of the mental level.
Yeah.
A dissolution of our capacity for deep, symbolic thought. We are miles away from those ancient ideas of necessary renewal.
We've perfected the analytical intellect, but often at the expense of our psychological integration. And the challenge today is the same as it was for the artifacts.
Which is,
how do you integrate the archaic instinct, that necessary wild man or shadow material, without the conscious ego identifying with superhuman power and, causing an internal catastrophe?
we've solved the external puzzle of transmutation with extreme technology. But the internal work, it still demands humility, patience, and devotion.
That psychological gulf between our secular, rational mind and the deep, rich, unconscious realm is still our defining dilemma.
The work has to continue.
It has to, because the moment we believe we have conclusive knowledge about the psyche, that intermediate realm, that vital connection between the physical and the psychic, it just disappears. The greatest challenge is always to keep searching for what we think we already know.